We are down here at Castle Hex Mortis with some awesome artists getting ready to chat out on some burgers made by Christopher Jensen. My name is Jason Turner, and our first guest is Adil, the Scumbag Muschelewicz.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing great. Just want to ask you a few questions. What do you do for a living, sir?
Well, I started out as a t-shirt designer. Did a lot of shirts for pretty much anything and everything at Warped Tour. A lot of those gnarly monster band t-shirts, slime monsters, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did a little contemporary stuff with branding, like logos for corporate type stuff, and a lot of DJ work too. Like logos for DJ names. But quite recently, I just got into getting into 3D modeling. Got a start early back in the day with some traditional clay stuff, and then it wasn't until recently we started getting into 3D modeling that really kicked off with 3D printing and mixing the two styles together into creating some new crazy stuff like toys and props and whatnot.
Awesome. Now I was going to rabbit trail for just a second. You showed us a really cool music video that you guys did, and you actually put like animation on an album cover.
Oh yeah.
And if you want to, what was the name of that video so we can show people?
We did a lot of branding for our friend Murchie. He goes by Kid Sadek. Yeah, man, like he got us a lot into the DJ scene in Atlanta, and we pretty much built his brand from the ground up with like the Moomba Cat and all these things that you can probably look up and find out. But yeah, the video we did was it was literally shot and edited in like under 24 hours. Got an entire crew of people together, pretty much had like a $500 budget that we had to get all the stuff, and that pretty much paid for the glide cam. But yeah, we shot this girl, and she had this, I always had this idea for like an album cover that was like animated, but it was like the future. So it's like, if you're in the future, what would be vintage and what would be retro would be an album that we have now, except there would be certain ones that would have like animations on them. So I always wanted to try that idea, because I would make album art and Photoshop all the time, but then that happened where I wanted to use that same idea in After Effects to create a biting, crunching kind of face on an album cover. As some girl's walking around, she gets it stolen from her, and then she gets it back at the end. But it's a really simple story that we kind of like threw together, and we had a lot of friends come in and help us out, and it ended up being a lot of fun. Cool. Way more tedious than it needed to be in After Effects, but
yeah.
It's a payoff.
We've done some music videos too, so I was impressed with what you guys did on that one. Now, what drew you to the Iron City Chronicles?
Well, it wasn't until coming to Atlanta a bunch of times that we ran into the Hex Mortis guys, who we've been really impressed with a lot of their cosplay stuff, a lot of their suits. We saw their Dr. Doom, and it was really, really elaborate. Pretty much a showstopper for us when we were at AWA. Checked out a lot of their stuff in the background, and really, really pretty much fell in love with that quality of battle damage and making things big. And as we started getting into making toys, eventually the next step was like, dude, we need to make a giant walking Gundam. Like, that was just our idea, and eventually we were gonna aim for that and get to that point where we're at a point where we're making toys so big that it just blows everyone's minds. Because toys are fun, but I mean, wearing a full suit of Gray Fox for Metal Gear Solid, just the ability to have that, think about it, model it, create it, even print out some of the pieces, and then assemble those and sand them and do all the body work, all yourself, and then you wind up with this awesome thing at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much what we were getting into, and then doing a couple of projects with Hex and all their fun stuff. We met, I guess, you guys, and y'all showed us the stuff about Iron Joe and all that Iron City Chronicles stuff, and it just looked really cool. The suit looked awesome. The helmet was badass, and just I absolutely wanted to get involved with something like that.
Cool. Now, what will you be contributing to the Iron City feature film and/or props?
Well, I mean, we had already talked about coming up with certain action figure elements too. I mean, if we're going to be modeling some of the stuff, we would have it to be able to be scaled down and stylize it for a figure. And one of the first things we're going to probably get going is a bust of Joe you know, from the maybe the waist up, or maybe a half bust or something, where like a Greek little statuette of them. But yeah, so we're just kind of starting small and seeing where things just keep getting built up, because once you've modeled something, you have the model and you can scale it bigger. You can re-engineer it slightly. You can re-topologize it and make pieces move and things like that. And it just, you know, it's just a building block, and you just start small and you keep building up.
Cool. And final question is, what are some of your favorite video games and films?
Well, I mean, if you can see my art style, I mean, you can see that I have a real, you know, love for that, you know, comic book style and gnarly things. I mean, Borderlands, for one, would be like the greatest, like, example of what I want to escape to, is a land that's just super sketched out, super crazy neon colors, and just detailed stuff. And it pretty much summed up everything I love about anything. Is just, you get an RPG, you got awesome items, you've got fun that you can play with your friends, you know. Pretty much games like that, where it's like a multiplayer experience that you can just have all your friends together and go on some crazy thing, and then the art style is just absolutely ridiculous. So, you know, and then I've also been into like the Resident Evil series and just being scared and terrified by stuff. So, and you know, I've always been a fan of those kinds of games where it's just gnarly, fun, you know, shocks, you know, make you jump, or, you know, excitement things that just pop you out of your seat.
Cool. We've actually got an artist named Stephen K. Smith who does some really cool Borderlands stuff. So, all right.